While everybody is awaiting the inevitable release of LEGO Marvel's Avengers next month, I'm busy doing backwards compatible LEGO reviews so I can get some more LEGO gameplay in. The last retro review I did didn't turn out so well. LEGO Star Wars Complete Saga from the DS isn't such a great game. Thanks to last week's Disney Day sale, I'm trying again with a PSP LEGO game. So, here is my official retro review of LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean for the PSP, also compatible with the PS Vita and PlayStation TV. The story of LEGO Pirates is pretty straightforward. It follows the events of the first 4 Pirates of the Caribbean movies: Curse of the Black Pearl, Dead Man's Chest, At World's End, and On Stranger Tides. It is also worth noting that this was made before they started putting voice acting in the scenes. So the scenes are funny just like all LEGO games, but there's no voice acting. LEGO Pirates is a 3D action game with puzzle and combat elements, though it could be named a puzzle game with combat elements because there's much bigger focus on puzzle than actual combat. As you progress through the game, you will be going from a hub world to levels. The hub world is just a small world that has various places like a shop, an area to let you check your game stats, as well as a place that lets you go through story levels. Each story level is a specific major scene or event in one of the 4 movies. At the start of the game, only Curse of the Black Pearl is unlocked, but clear stage 1 of Curse of the Black Pearl and the other 3 movies will unlock. Biggest thing that handheld gamers will want to know is whether or not content was cut out of this game and whether or not gameplay is the same as the console version. Handheld games have seemingly always gotten the short end of the stick after the handheld releases of LEGO Star Wars 2 and LEGO Batman, and LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean for the PSP is no exception to that rule. The levels that are here do play just like the console version more or less. However, there are a few changes and a few things cut out. The changes are in the fact that some of the puzzles are slightly different, and the boss battles, instead of running around and dodging projectiles and hacking and slashing your way through a boss, you go through these interactive duels. They are pre-made cutscenes where you have button inputs instead of actually fighting the boss fight. Imagine it like the interactive scenes for finishing off bosses in God of War, except for the whole boss fight. What was cut out is in the form of levels. In the console version of LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean, there are 5 levels for each movie. In LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean PSP, there are only 4 levels. Whether this was done on purpose or not, I don't know, but it is worth noting that LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean PSP is a 1.3 gigabyte download, which is nearly at the limit for a PSP game. So it could be that they had originally planned on putting the whole game in and didn't have enough room, or they intentionally took content out like they did with other handheld games. As you go through each mission, you will be going through 3D areas, platforming and solving puzzles, as well as fighting enemies. Though enemies is pretty much on a minimum, I would say 75% of a level will be exploring and puzzle solving, and maybe 20-25% will be actual combat. It's a shame because combat is really where the fun is. While the game is a button masher with combat like all LEGO games, the way they portray swordplay when you're fighting each enemy is surprisingly satisfying. Now, as I said above, boss fights are not boss fights anymore. They're just easy, interactive cutscene duels. They do have their own charm, but it's really not the same if you've ever played the original LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean on the big consoles. Length is another thing that suffers in the game. The last PSP LEGO game I did was LEGO Harry Potter Years 1 through 4, and I noted that it was very short because it was only 4 or 5 hours long. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean isn't even that long. Playing through all 4 movies once on LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean PSP, I would wager you're going to be spending 2, maybe 3 hours on the game, and that'll be it, unless you want to go back and do free play to grind for studs and buy all the characters. It's great if you bought it for $3 on the Disney Day sale last week, but I'm not sure you're going to want to check out $10 on PSN right now for a 3-hour game. Presentation isn't bad, but isn't great either. The in-game engine is a little bit jaggy, though the angles and everything do make it look like a console release. The main problem with the visuals is that it gets blurry in some areas, especially in some of the cutscenes that were taken from the console release. A lot of them just don't look optimized enough and they look really blurry. The only other things I'll say about the presentation, the sound quality is great as you would expect in a LEGO game. The movie scores were utilized here well. The official Pirates of the Caribbean theme song in all its iconic glory is all over this game, but they've also thrown in a lot of other movie tracks, so you're not listening to the same thing over and over. Performance I have no complaints with. The frame rate stays steady, load times are nice and short. LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean is one of those few handheld LEGO games that maintain console-like gameplay. Despite this, there are a lot of things holding the game back. A lot of the puzzles seem a little too simple, the game's only a couple hours long, the visuals are quite blurry in some areas instead of just being jaggy, and a lot of the content was cut out of this version. If you're looking for a handheld LEGO Pirates game, then this is your best option by far, but it's got nothing on the full console version. Reviews2Go rates LEGO Pirates of the Caribbean PSP a 6 out of 10. If you'd like to comment on this, feel free to below, or head to my site at www.reviews2go.com.